Good evening and welcome to Sunset News this Thursday evening. As always, we bring you news, community stories, economics, weather and sports. I am Diana Master. In the news tonight, the standard tariffs of the Namibia Association of Medical Funds remain the benchmark for processing claims and administering benefits for the Namibia Health Plan in line with the country's healthcare framework and the fund's rules. NHP was responding to allegations by private healthcare providers that codes aligned with NAMAF tariffs are not being recognized by its new South African administrator, Universal Care. NHP Principal Officer Dantago Garosas told Namibian Sun sister publication Republicane this week that the fund continues to work with Universal and stakeholders to resolve coding alignment issues to ensure approved treatment continues and minimize any administrative disruptions to patient care. Referring to claims that treatment plans for patients currently receiving care are being rejected, Garosas said claims are not simply declined outright. All clinical funding decisions are evaluated in accordance with the fund's rules, members' entitled benefits, and established clinical protocols, she said. She said the fund remains committed to protecting members' well-being, maintaining continuity of medically necessary treatment, and ensuring all funding decisions are fair, transparent, and aligned with regulatory and clinical governance standards. Asked to respond to serious concerns raised by service providers over the protection of patients' information as well as the financial security of patients and providers, Garosas emphasized and stressed that these issues are fundamental to NHP's governance and operational mandate. Several complaints have been received regarding difficulties service providers face in registering on the Universal Network. These include concerns that certain plans and options are not applicable in Namibia, that fees do not correspond with NAMAF tariffs, that coding rules are not aligned with NAMAF standards, and that several codes and treatments are being excluded by Universal as the fund's new administrator. It is further alleged that service providers who sign the agreement are bound by restrictive codes and fees that do not align with NAMAF standard tariffs. As a result, no other tariff codes or fees prescribed by Universal would reportedly be paid out. Garosas, however, said service providers are not required to participate in any inappropriate tariff framework that is not aligned with the Namibian healthcare environment. Getting into our next story, the 70-year-old mother of Windhoek resident Kaylin Basson has gone without vital blood pressure medication for several months because Windhoek state hospitals have reportedly had no stock since February. Basson has made the trip to Windhoek Central Hospital's pharmacy every week, hoping the medicine had arrived. Each week, she left with the same answer, still no stock. Basson has since written an open letter to the Ministry of Health and Social Services, warning that medicine shortages are quietly pushing vulnerable Namibians deeper into illness, debt, and despair. But her story is far from isolated. Patients and families who spoke to Network Media Hub say they are being forced to travel from one clinic or hospital to another in a desperate search for chronic medication vital to their health. From chronic medication and mental health treatment to emergency snakebite antivenom, shortages are exposing cracks in the country's medicine supply chain, while ordinary Namibians bear the burden. In her 4-page open letter dated 10 May, Basson praised the ministry for visible improvements at public hospitals, including renovated wards, upgraded emergency units, and improved ambulance response services. She recounted how her late father received surgery, radiation, and chemotherapy through the public healthcare system after being diagnosed with grade 4 glioblastoma in 2024. Yet while acknowledging the progress, Basson warned that infrastructure upgrades mean little when patients cannot access the medication they need to survive. What frustrated Basson most was not only the shortage itself, but also the red tape and bureaucracy surrounding attempts to find alternatives. When she asked whether she could buy the medication privately, she was told she first needed authorization from a state doctor. However, after approaching a doctor at Windhoek Central Hospital, she was allegedly referred elsewhere to obtain the required paperwork. In northern Namibia, a similar crisis is unfolding. Patients have raised concerns over shortages of vital psychiatric medication at Oshakati and Ingela state hospitals, where medicines are out of stock. Spokesperson Walters Kamaya said procurement processes are conducted proactively based on consumption trends, existing stock, and projected needs. Several families in the informal settlement of Ekunde 6 near Okahanja are living in makeshift shelters built almost entirely from plastic sheets, scrap wood, and collected waste. The situation raises serious concerns about child welfare, health, fire safety, and flood risks. During a visit by Network Media Hub, 43-year-old Tania Klufas described her daily life. According to her, her two children, a 15-year-old boy and his 10-year-old sister, collect food and other items from the local dump site. That is basically our daily food, Klufas said. Her family has no stable income and currently receives no social support grants for the children. The location near a riverbed is particularly dangerous. During heavy rain, water enters the shelters and washes belongings away, Klufas said. During the most recent rain, blankets and clothing were swept away. There is also a constant fire risk as the shacks stand closely together and are built from highly flammable materials. 26-year-old Yvonne Ludick also spoke about difficulties accessing government support. Her 5-year-old son's birth certificate was destroyed in a shack fire. Without money to replace the document, she cannot apply for social grants. NMH counted at least 4 shelters built from plastic materials in the area. Residents are calling for safer housing and more reliable support. Without additional assistance, fire and flood risks, as well as the social hardship in Ekunde 6, are expected to continue. In our closing of our top stories, an operations manager at the Agro Marketing and Trade Agency, AMTA, has requested an audience with President Netumbo Nandi-Ndaitwah. The agency is on the brink, he says, without audits, without an approved budget, without a strategic plan, and for more than 3 years without permanent executive management. The letter, seen by Network Media Hub and dated 30 March 2026, was written by Pauli Titus Sitentu, the operations manager at AMTA's Rundu Fresh Produce Business Hub, and exposes a governance crisis. We, the employees of AMTA, write in all humility to request an audience with you and your esteemed high-level delegation to discuss AMTA's operations, challenges, and future potential in strengthening Namibia's food security and economic development, the letter states. AMTA is currently facing several structural and operational challenges that threaten the sustainability and effectiveness of the agency. Sitentu listed 8 shortcomings, including the ongoing leadership vacuum, the absence of a strategic plan, crippling electricity costs at the fresh produce business hubs, the absence of a guaranteed market, particularly government support mechanisms for produce sourced from local farmers, as well as the absence of a formal legal framework establishing AMTA through an Act of Parliament. State House spokesperson Jonas Mbambo confirmed to NMH that the letter had been received. However, a meeting had not yet been scheduled. The biggest challenge so far has been finding a suitable date for an audience with the head of state, especially given a number of developments and commitments that have unfortunately affected scheduling in the lead-up. The matter remains a priority, Mbambo said. We are aware of the concerns and complaints raised in the letter, and once a date is set, the President will have the opportunity to fully grasp the issues presented in order to help pave the way forward, Mbambo added. AMTA's last completed external audit relates to the 2022-2023 financial year. 2 consecutive financial years, 2023-2024 and 2024-2025, remain unaudited and not finalized. Under Namibia's Public Enterprise Framework, state entities are legally required to submit annually audited financial statements to the Auditor General and the relevant line ministry. AMTA has not done so, and without annual financial statements, the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Finance have no basis on which to release operational funds, a situation that insiders say has resulted in AMTA's budget for the 2025-2026 financial year being withheld. Sitentu said AMTA is operating without an approved strategy, and the agency has no documented framework governing its operations, objectives, or resource allocation for the coming period. The employee's letter to the president also points to a deeper structural tension. AMTA is classified as a commercial entity, yet carries a social mandate to support national food security. That brings us to the end of our top stories. After the break, we bring you our story of the day. Tonight in our story of the day, the newly established Nkuru Vocational Training Center is currently expanding its training programs. From the June 2026 intake, the institution will introduce new courses in hospitality and tourism, as well as clothing production. According to the center, the move responds to growing demand for skilled workers in the tourism service and artisan sectors. The new programs include Hospitality and Tourism Level 2 and Clothing Production Level 1. They will complement the existing technical and vocational training courses and are expected to strengthen the VTC as a training hub for young people from Kavango East and Kavango West. According to Liaison Officer Olavi Haikera, the courses are intended to provide practical skills and improve opportunities for employment or self-employment. The hospitality program will cover areas such as reception work, housekeeping, catering, and food and beverage service. Graduates may later find work in hotels, lodges, restaurants, guest houses, and tourism-related services. The new clothing production course focuses on basic tailoring skills, fabric knowledge, pattern making, garment production, and the safe use of equipment. Haikera said many communities still have a demand for local tailors and designers, particularly for school uniforms and traditional clothing. To raise awareness of the new programs, the center plans an outreach campaign in Kavango East and Kavango West, especially in rural and underserved areas. Training is expected to last about 1 year and will combine theory with practical exercises. According to the center, the costs will be funded through the Namibia Training Authority. Stick with us. After the break, we bring you the news headlining the world of economics.
Namibia is a land of movement, with waves that never stop reaching forward. Here, adventure is not something we search for. It is something we are born into. In every corner of this country, creativity rises, from artists, from athletes, from dreamers. And when the world comes to explore Namibia, they discover something extraordinary. Because when sport moves people, creativity moves ideas, and tourism moves the world toward us, something powerful happens. A platform where movement meets imagination, where industries connect, where opportunity grows, where Namibia's next chapter begins. Welcome to the Creative Sport Tourism Expo. Exhibit, partner, experience. Creative Sport Tourism.
Headlining our economic news, South Africa's Agriculture Minister John Steenhuisen has signaled his willingness to work together with Namibia on the improvement of roads, railway, and harbours for eased agricultural cooperation and trade. A big thing is to work together to change the transport system, to improve it. How can we export within Africa on roads and railways, as well as using harbours? Steenhuisen said at the Nampo Harvest Day earlier this week on Tuesday. He also insists that Namibia and South Africa need not compete for international markets. We all produce a world-class product, which is a hit all over the world, and the development of that market and the support, I think, is where the success is going to be, Steenhuisen was quoted as saying. Recent meetings between South African and Namibian agricultural authorities authorities have been fruitful in resolving matters which have produced tension, according to Steenhuisen. There is little tension between the two countries. I had meetings this year with the Minister of Agriculture and we sorted out a few things. Now we have the communication that is needed. She told us that 30 days is a notice period for us to export our products. This makes it easier to work together to make sure that the agricultural sector is doing well in both our countries. Steenhuisen also stressed the importance of cooperation between the two countries as part of wider regional collaboration efforts. We are part of the solution of getting food security markets within the Southern African Development Community area to work together within the SADC area to build more opportunities for the whole area of SADC to help with food security within the SADC area, where there is a lot of production in one part of the SADC. He stressed that regional cooperation may also benefit the red meat industry. If we stand together and work with the regional approach to handle red meat, then we get more opportunities for the SADC area to export within Africa, but also outside Africa, he said. In our next story, the second Namibia-EU Economic Forum once again made it clear that the partnership between Namibia and the European Union has long since moved beyond classic trade issues. A key outcome is the revised roadmap of the strategic partnership, which has been extended for the period 2026 to 2030 and represents a clear commitment to sustainable industrial development, green growth, and inclusive economic transformation. The focus is on green industrialization, local value creation, renewable energy, critical raw materials, skills development, and investment. The aim is to create jobs, strengthen industrial structures, and unlock long-term economic opportunities. In particular, the Partnership for Sustainable Raw Materials and Green Hydrogen launched in 2022 and is not only being continued but strategically deepened. However, the forum also highlighted a second increasingly important dimension, the creative economy as a future-oriented sector. On the last day of the conference, topics such as creativity were deliberately brought to the fore. The ESP Group used the platform to present the Creative Sport Tourism Expo, which will take place from the 2nd to the 4th of September 2026 at the Hage Geingob Rugby Stadium. And now let's take a look at the economic indicators. The Namibian dollar trades at 22.18 to the British pound, 19.21 against the euro, 16.40 to the US dollar, and 2 Namibian dollars and 42 cents buys you 1 Chinese yuan. All commodities are down, with platinum taking the biggest hit at 4.08%, now trading at $2,059 and 62 cents per ounce. Stay with us. Right after this, we bring you the latest in international news.
I'm sure you've heard the news, and Namibia is calling. And it's time to answer with a smile. From the rolling sand dunes of Sossusvlei to the wildlife wonders of Etosha National Park, Namibia is a treasure trove of natural beauty and adventure. With Enjoy, booking the most renowned lodges is as easy as a desert breeze. Picture yourself sipping coffee on a deck, watching the sunrise. Paint the sky in hues of gold and orange. Or how about a thrilling safari, capturing memories that'll last a lifetime? Our easy-to-use website hosts the most beautiful lodges Namibia has to offer. Whether you crave luxury or a cozy hideaway, we've got you covered. So pack your bags and let's turn your dream adventure into reality. Namibia awaits, and with Enjoy, your perfect stay is just a click away.
Tonight in international news, the United States has announced that it will waive a proposed $15,000 visa deposit for football fans from 50 countries traveling to the 2026 World Cup, provided they hold valid match tickets. 5 African nations affected by the policy, Algeria, Cape Verde, Ivory Coast, Senegal, and Tunisia, have qualified for the tournament, which will be co-hosted by the US, Canada, and Mexico from the 11th of June. We are are waiving visa bonds for qualified fans who bought World Cup tickets, Assistant Secretary of the State for Consular Affairs Maura Namdar told the BBC. The visa bond requirement was introduced last year as part of efforts to reduce overstays. Under the policy, travellers from certain countries were required to pay a refundable deposit returned at the end of their visit. While players and coaches had already been exempt, the waiver now extends to ticket-holding fans. The measure was part of a 12-month pilot program launched in August under broader immigration controls. FIFA welcomed the decision, saying it reflects ongoing cooperation with U.S. authorities to ensure a successful tournament. However, some restrictions remain. Travelers from Iran and Haiti are still barred from entering the U.S., although athletes and team officials are exempt for World Cup purposes. Ivory Coast and Senegal also face partial restrictions under expanded travel rules. Separately, the U.S. has proposed requiring some visitors to provide up to 5 years of social media history as part of visa applications, a move that could affect World Cup travelers. Rights groups have warned that stricter immigration policies could lead to denied entry, increased surveillance, and potential discrimination for some visitors. And now let's head on over straight to our sports news. Top tennis prospect Joanivia Bezuidenhout has once again impressed on the local junior circuit, claiming her third title of the year last weekend at the Swakopmund Junior Open. Bezuidenhout's dominance has shown through this year after she started the season on a high by claiming the overall junior title in Windhoek in January before following up with another title a month later at the same venue. The Swakopmund Open brought together 58 players from across the country, battling it out across the under-20 and under-25 categories as they chased crucial ranking points and prizes. The points contribute towards national team selection and the season-ending Junior Masters Championship, where the country's junior championship is crowned. According to the organizers, players are allowed to compete up to the under-25 division at the junior tournament, depending on their level of competition, to help improve the overall standard of the sport in the country. Bezuidenhout competed in the under-25 division, which was played in a mixed round-robin format due to insufficient entries to complete separate draws. Her opponents were eventual silver medalist Stefan Kohn, who was the only boy in the division, as well as Leandre Lowe and Natalia Oses. The under-25 gold medalist was ruthless throughout the tournament, winning all 3 of her round-robin matches in straight sets. She opened with a 6-0, 6-1 victory over Oses, defeated Cohen 6-1, 6-4, and closed out her campaign with a 6-3, 6-4 win over Lowe. That saw her finish atop of the standings with a maximum 6 points, a perfect 3-0 win-loss record, and a 6-0 sets record. She also posted a 36-13 games won-lost tally across 6 sets, translating to a 73.47% game win rate. In our next sports story, the relegation of top football clubs from the Namibia Premier Football League, as well as from First Division football, has cemented the financial reality some football clubs face in Namibia. Some football clubs were recently relegated, while others that dropped down in the past have not found their way back to top-flight football. In fact, many of these clubs trying to bounce back are struggling to stay afloat in the lower leagues and have faced further relegations. In the past, clubs like Chelsea Football Club, Grootfontein Black Africa, Chiefs Santos, Orlando Pirates, Ramblers Civics, Liverpool Okahanja, and Oshakati City all once provided fans with highly entertaining performances. Recently, Tigers Football Club was also relegated from the Premier League, becoming the latest big-name club to exit the country's top-flight league. Record League champions Black Africa were recently relegated from the 2nd Division and will now play in the 3rd Division. Ramblers, Chiefs Santos and Orlando Pirates, on the other hand, were relegated from the First Division after the end of the season. This has marked a significant point in football history, prompting questions about the state of Namibian football and the seriousness of football club owners and administrators. Analysts are weighing in on the possible reasons why some of these top football clubs have faced a torrid time. Matthew Haikali, who has been vocal about football administration for years, shared his views on why these clubs may have found the going tough. And with that, we have come to the end of the broadcast. I am Diana Master, and this has been Sunset News. Don't end your day without us.